Hi, my name is Claire Burke, and this is my summary video for the narrative criticism paper. So first, starting off, I'm just going to give a summary of the artifact and its context. So I chose the film Zootopia for this week's criticism, and a little bit about the film. It was released in 2016, and it kind of depicts a story of animals who are living in the world and acting as humans act. So they wear clothes, they have jobs, and they interact with other animals in a form of like communication and reason that humans have. And the main plot of the story focuses on the character of Judy Hopps, who is a bunny who wants to be a police officer in the city of Zootopia, which is kind of like New York City in the sense of the real world, where it's just a super big city with a bunch of different opportunities. And she kind of has this mindset that this is where anybody can be anything, is how she puts it in the movie. And the key behind that is kind of setting up for the objective of the movie, really, how she has this view of the world that she can do anything that she wants in it. She could be anybody who she wants, and that's kind of the mindset that she goes into with the movie. She then meets a fox in the city who is kind of like a con villain, a crook in the movie, but they end up being partners and working on a case where they have to find missing animals. And the story kind of resolves itself in that they find out that the person is controlling predators within the villain is controlling predators within the movie to get them to act violently in order that they might come into power, because the person who's actually hurting the predators is a member of the prey community. So it kind of speaks to the idea of predator versus prey and just all of the things that come along with that. And the resolution is that they find out who the villain is by working together, both predator and prey. And so that's kind of a summary of the actual artifact. The context of the artifact, though, it was filmed or released in 2016, and it had directors Byron Howard and Rich Moore were the two main directors. And for the context of what I get into later in this video, they are both a part of the Democratic Party, and in 2016 was the presidential election in which Donald Trump was elected. And when the whole issue of Donald Trump being elected, leading up to it, he was kind of seen by the Democratic Party as a racist and somebody who discriminated against people of color and women, and just along that idea of prejudice and discrimination is how the Democratic Party saw him. So then, as for a summary of the method as I applied it to the artifact, so the method obviously is narrative criticism, and I applied this by first looking and discovering the objective of the narrative, and then I then found out the features that were connected to the narrative. So for the objectives, I looked at like I said, the directors of the film, the audience, and the content. And then I looked at the key features of the narrative, which would be the setting I used. I also used the events and the characters for this second step. And then finally, I chose to analyze the feature, to analyze the artifact to see how the features supported the objective. And so going on to the summary of the findings of my analysis. So this part is in the events. So I found out that all three of the key things that I just mentioned, the characters, the setting, and the events within the movie itself, as well as the context of the directors and the audience reactions to it, brings about the objective of fighting against discrimination and prejudice in the world. And that's kind of the narrative that the directors are trying to push within it. And that comes through looking at the characters being all different types of shapes, sizes, colorings, predator versus prey, which is conducive to the real world of African Americans versus white Americans, and the issues of division between that is seen there. And then as well as just gender differences of men versus women in the workplace and things that we see. That's representative in the characters themselves. And then the settings, even of the big city versus the small town, there's discrimination in both of them for each of the characters. And even in the events that occur, you find out that the main character, Judy Hopps, is also discriminating against the predators, even though she's is often seen as the victim within the movie as being a member of the prey species. So the whole film just focuses on everybody can have a prejudice and everybody can be discriminatory towards other people, and the main goal to fight back on that is to be the change, is what she concludes with. And she states that change starts in you, it starts in me, and it starts in all of us together. And that's how we're able to move forward and get past our differences and create a better future, is the main summary of the findings. So I found that the summary of my contribution to the rhetorical theory field, I found that the context of the film and the years following its release really show the significance of what this film means. So, as I stated earlier, Trump was seen as racist and dividing between the nation by the Democratic Party. Now, all the directors involved in the making of the film are a part of the Democratic Party, as well as almost all of the actors which filmed it. So, fast forwarding to the next election of 2020, Trump is replaced with a Democratic candidate in Joe Biden, and he clearly, from his political campaigns, had pushed for a DEI narrative, so diversity, equity, and inclusion, and he had an addition of Kamala Harris, who was his vice president, which was the first woman vice president, and he also replaced many of the White House staff with people of many different colors and made it a point to include women and just a variety of races within the organization. And this much resembles the ideas within Zootopia of anybody could be anything. And the theory that is present is the idea that film has a direct connection to pushing narratives that will soon be seen in culture. So even as Walt Disney himself said, Disney is the creator of Zootopia, stated, movies can do and have tremendous influence in shaping young lives. So in my essay and my rhetorical findings, I'm suggesting that it also affects the lives of the older generations, such as current voters. So people are making decisions that usually align with their beliefs, and therefore, if the content they're ingesting, so movies and films, is pushing a certain narrative such as diversity, equity, and inclusion, they're likely to see the benefits of this agenda even more so and then act accordingly, such as with their vote. And that's why even in children movies, such as Zootopia, can open the minds of adults who are also watching it with their children to new ideas and shape their worldview. So although the ideas of diversity and inclusion in a children's movie are kind of heavy and complex topics for children, it also affects adults that are watching it with their children. And I think it further has effects in the culture and the way people think and act on their beliefs. And when movies like Zootopia push this agenda, it then further affects the culture and how people view other things in the day-to-day. So that's kind of my summary of the narrative criticism paper I wrote. I hope you liked it. Thank you.